I'm Thomas Smith. I'm a technology journalist and the CEO of Gatto Images, and I also have worked in AI for over a decade. And this is Tom Talks Tech, a new podcast where I'll share perspectives on everything in technology and the technology world, from cooking to crypto. Join me here as I explore the world of technology on Tom Talks Tech. I'm Tom, and today we're talking about poop songs, specifically name poop songs. So if you're on TikTok, you may have seen a meme that's kind of bizarre, where people put on songs where it's basically a man's voice singing a name. Could be any name, basically any common name, and then the word poop over and over again. And set to music. People found these about midway through 2020, and it became this meme where people would put their own poop song on there. They looked in the music library and saw you could search your name plus the word poop and find these songs, put them in there. People would dance to them, they'd lip sync to them, they'd just film themselves reacting to it or talking about it. And some of these have hundreds of thousands of views on the videos, some of the really good ones. There's thousands of different songs out there with different names. And even some major celebrities like Charlie Puth posted one, and Billie Eilish posted a video of herself talking about this particular meme, actually on Instagram instead of TikTok for her. But it's become this sort of internet phenomenon, again, with hundreds of thousands of views on some of these songs. And, it might beg the question, why would somebody, be producing these? Where are these coming from? And what's behind it? And I wanted to explore that, and I did that through an ongoing collaboration relationship coverage of Matt Farley. Matt is a musician. He's probably the most prolific musician in the world. He's produced over 21,000 songs, and I originally started covering his work about 2 years ago. I was looking into prolific creators and talking about how people create large amounts of content, and Matt stood out as somebody doing this in the music industry. So I've done several interviews with him and stories and covered his work over the last several years. And he is the person behind these name poop songs on TikTok. And the story of how he got there is really interesting. Begins all the way back in 2018 when Matt was getting started as a musician online. He had a band called Moe's Haven, and he put some of their music on Spotify and other streaming services when they were really in their infancy. He used CD Baby, which is, as the name the CD in there implies, has been around for a while. They no longer really do CDs. Now they help independent artists put their music onto Spotify and Apple Music, Amazon Music, all of these other streaming services, among other things. So Matt put his band's music on there, and he noticed that they got a little bit of traffic on their normal songs, the songs that they were originals that they had written, but songs that had a particularly interesting keyword in the title did better. They made up to $8 per year of streaming revenue. So for this podcast, I'm using the platform Anchor. It's a great platform for anyone who's interested in creating a podcast of their own. Some things I like about it are the fact that it's totally free, and there's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your own podcast. You can do that either from their app or on your computer in the browser. You can also upload your own audio if you use an external platform, and Anchor will send everything out to Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more external platforms. You can also make money from your podcast if you want to monetize it. So you can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The songs that mentioned a celebrity, songs that were about a particular place. And when I asked Matt about that, he said that caused a light bulb to go off over his head, because he realized that if he was going to make it as a musician, which is incredibly hard to do, he could, all he had to do was basically produce enough of these songs that had interesting keywords, and he set the goal of 20,000 of them. And if you took that, $20,000 or 20,000 songs rather, multiplied it by, maybe $2 to $8 per year per song in streaming revenue, then, you could be making a pretty good living. And he really wanted, as we'll get into, to succeed as an artist and as a creator. So he leveraged this discovery, and he started producing songs about everything, and really literally everything. I mean, he has songs about all different celebrities, but he also has songs about the guy who repaired his garage door, songs about cheese, songs about basically everything that you can possibly think of in the world. And so he'll sit down sometimes, starting in 2008, he started to sit down, and every day he'd spend up to 12 hours per day producing these songs about everything and putting them out in these giant albums under fictitious artist names. So if you go and search Matt Farley, or his company's name, Moturn Media, on Spotify, you won't really find that much because he publishes under these kind of SEO optimized band names. And it can be, anything. And so he started to write all of these songs and publish them under these fictitious artists, and was collecting good streaming revenue. And he spent over a decade doing this. And one of the things he discovered while he was kind of embarking on this journey towards 20,000 songs was that certain songs that were about things like poop did really well. And what he kind of figured out was that kids must be getting access to their parents' Spotify and putting in words that they think are funny, and then pulling up whatever came up in the search and listening to it. And in the aggregate, this was a big source of streams. So he started to produce more songs about poop and farts and all of these kind of expletives and silly words and that kind of thing. And developed this niche of producing hundreds and hundreds of these songs that kids enjoyed streaming. Maybe the immature adults among us might enjoy streaming as well, and put them out on Spotify and Apple Music and other services. And they did pretty well for him for a while as a smaller piece of his overall work. But in mid-2020, he told me he started to get all of these messages from people. And specifically, they were asking him to produce poop songs that were personalized for them. And this grew out of a realization he had at a certain point where, he was producing a certain amount of these poop-related songs, but he had kind of run out of things to say and things to sing about that particular topic. So he took another kind of song that he liked to produce, which is a birthday song, which is basically he would sing happy birthday and then a person's name. He did it for hundreds of names. The idea was people would share these with each other on birthdays, and it was an easy way for him to personalize, hundreds or thousands of songs to different people and create more songs for his catalog pretty easily. So he took that concept and mashed it up with the poop song concept and ended up with name poop songs. So even before these were starting to trend, he had been producing them where he would, again, take a person's name, take the word poop, write original music, sing these songs, and record, with a particular name, and then just do that up to 100 times a day, producing hundreds and hundreds of these name poop songs. And again, he started to get people reaching out suddenly all at once saying, can you make one for my name? I don't see one for my name out there. Can you produce a new one? And he wondered what was going on, because these had existed for a while. They were on Spotify. They're still on Spotify if you want to look for it. And he didn't know, what was causing this sudden spike in interest. So he started to do some research and discovered that, in fact, the songs have been sent to TikTok. And one of the things CD Baby does is distributes artists' songs to a whole variety of different marketplaces. Obviously, Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon and YouTube are the big ones, but they had begun to distribute artists' catalogs to TikTok to be included in TikTok posts. And they had sent a big chunk of Matt's catalog to TikTok. And TikTok users, again, had discovered these songs and discovered that you could put your name plus the word poop into the TikTok music search engine and get these really hilarious and kind of silly songs and then make your own post out of it. And they were doing it. Again, hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of views in some cases for some of these songs. So obviously for Matt, this was an exciting moment and something he wanted to capitalize on. So he told me he started to produce many, many, many more of these, and actually to take audience suggestions of names that people wanted to see. And he ended up producing, as of late 2020, over 1,000 of these poop songs, these name poop songs with different people's names. And they're on TikTok. Again, it's continuing to be this trending thing. People are going out and using these songs. And think it's actually he produced 1,000 that were audience suggestions. I believe he's over 1,500 named poop songs total. So responding to his audience, producing these, people use them, becomes this feedback loop. More people hear about it and ask for more songs from him. And he told me that he still has hundreds of songs to sing, named poop song genre, but he is taking a break at the moment. He's probably going to resume again later in 2021 because he is experiencing named poop song exhaustion. So, we may experience Zoom fatigue during the pandemic. Matt Farley is experiencing named poop song exhaustion, which I thought is a good concept. So, that addresses how these songs came to be. It's through the really kind of Herculean effort of one man. But why, I think, is a more complex and more interesting question. And the first part is pretty straightforward, and that's the money. Turns out named poop songs are not just silly, they're actually a big business. So when Matt's songs get streamed, when they get played on YouTube, and when they get used on TikTok, he makes tiny, tiny amounts of streaming revenue from each of those uses. And over time, that builds into a substantial revenue stream. And Matt said he hasn't yet been paid by TikTok for the streams, but ultimately he should get a check directly from them for the use of the songs on their platform. He doesn't know how much it'll be, suspects it won't be that much, but he will get some money directly from that. But what he has seen is that all of this interest, these millions of views on these videos that use his songs, have led to a huge increase in people listening to his songs on other platforms where they are monetized. So he told me that one of his fictitious bands that he uses to produce these named poop songs went from having 8,000 streams per month, or 8,000 listeners per month, to 16,000 after the named poop song started to trend on TikTok. So a huge, huge jump in overall listenership. And he estimates that on that one band alone, that increase has led to about an additional $2,400 per year in streaming revenue for him. And overall, across all of his different poop songs, he said he has made tens of thousands of dollars from those songs. Think about that for a second. Singing about poop, not just silly, not just to entertain children, it's something that is literally bringing Matt tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. And he didn't want to share the exact numbers, but tens of thousands. And overall, his music is bringing in over $65,000 per year in streaming revenue. So a substantial living for an artist, a way that Matt can pursue his artistic dreams and support himself and his family in the process. So money, I think, is part of it. Named poop songs, obviously a big business, and something he'll probably continue to develop. But I think it also goes deeper than that. And so I asked him, about his overall motivations. And I think it was interesting. There's a couple of things driving this. I think the biggest one is he said, he's always been obsessed with creativity and wanted to be a creative, wanted to be a musician. But it's incredibly challenging to succeed in the music world. And it's kind of an all or nothing proposition a lot of the time. Most of the revenue in the streaming music world especially is controlled by a very, very tiny sliver of the artists. About 90% of revenue comes from 1% of artists. So these are your Taylor Swifts, your Lady Gagas are taking most of the pie. It's very hard for an independent musician to make it in the industry. And Matt was very determined to do that. So again, he decided, well, if I can make 20,000 songs and I get a few dollars from them each per year, I can make a living being an artist. And that was his dream, to make a living being an artist. So at any cost, he did that, and now has succeeded in that, which I think is inspirational. So really it's about being able to realize his dream of being a creative and still making enough money to support himself and his family and doing it, which again he's doing. Buys him the opportunity too to produce music that isn't silly. He has a whole variety of songs that he calls masterpieces, things that he thinks are really good and really legitimate music. And his large audience of people listening to the silly songs and the revenue from that facilitates him spending his time creating these songs that really engage more directly with his creativity. But overall, I think Matt sees all of his work as being part of his creative process. And that's another goal he told me about, was the idea that people think of creativity as this mysterious force you have to be struck by a muse, or you have to be super talented. And he really sees it as more of a process, more of a practice that you engage in every day, and something that is more about putting the work and the time in, not so much about this creative inspiration and some kind of mysterious force. So one of his goals, he told me, is to demystify the creative process and show that if you're willing to put in the work, and he says he puts in more work than he thinks most people would be willing to put in for this kind of thing, then you can, succeed as a creative, even if you don't get lucky, even if you don't have a song that takes off and becomes a major hit. So again, I think that's an inspirational concept, that it's really more about the work and the process, and particularly the volume of content that you produce, getting back to that prolific content concept, than it is about, getting lucky or being brilliant. And the final thing is, I think, some of these songs really engage with something that he believes, and that's the concept that, everything deserves to be sung about. Everything, even if it seems incredibly minor, trivial things, deserve to have a song written about them. And one of his newer projects that I really love engages with that concept directly. He's writing a song about every city in America, an anthem. And again, that comes back to his belief that every city deserves an anthem and should be sung about and should be celebrated. And I think that's a nice concept as well. The idea that, if you aren't creating a lot of content, you're focusing only on specific places, specific people, where really we should be celebrating the whole broad range of things that people do and places that they live, and even things that seem trivial and silly like poop. So, name poop songs seems like, again, it's this kind of immature fart joke type of thing, but in reality, it's fueling this one man's quest to develop this new concept of what creativity can be, and it's financing his other work, and it's financing his ability to continue to be an independent artist and continue to produce the songs that he loves to produce. So I think it goes well beyond just a silly concept and a meme, and into something that goes a bit deeper. That's one of the things I love about covering this. If you want to produce your own name poop song, it's super easy. Just pull up the TikTok app, go to the music tab, search your name and the word poop, and you can probably find one. Most common names are in there already, but if you can't find your own name, reach out to Matt. You can find him on Twitter. He's at Moturn Media, and you can reach out and ask him to make one. And once his name poop song exhaustion abates, then hopefully he'll produce your song, and you can start to use that for your own TikTok meme. If you want to hear more about this, read my article in Debugger on Medium. It's at debugger.medium.com. I'll put the link in the description as well if you want to go read my full coverage, my interviews with Matt, and see some of these name poop songs on TikTok for yourself. Again, check it out in Debugger. Also, please subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to me wherever you listen to podcasts. And find me on Twitter, too. Feel free to ask questions at TomSmith585. Thanks for listening.